We gave this guy $90,000. I mean, it started cool, but then no inspections, lies. He ghosted us. We're going to do a done for you kind of one-stop shop. And guess what? Still got burned.
You should always make sure that your GC has milestones and delivery dates.
We got hoodwinked. $90,000 later, you're kind of licking your wounds. How do you protect yourself? You got to trust and verify.
Learn from those mistakes. They need to book a clarity call with us.
That's it, dude. Book a call with us, man. All right, man. So we gave this guy $90,000, bro. I mean, it started cool, but then no inspections, lies. He ghosted us and delays after delays. So you might be thinking, that'll never happen to me.
Right.
But guess what? My brother, Drew, he went turnkey. He was like, hey, I'm not going to do the contractor. We're going to do a done for you kind of one-stop shop BRRRR. And guess what?
Still got burned.
Still got burned. Drew, what happened with that, man?
So listen, it was supposed to be easy, done for you, right? So these guys find the deal. They source the deal. They find the contractor. They bring the project manager in. They've already determined what the costs are going to be. So all you got to do is bring your money and
that's it.
Monitor it, right? Just
easy peasy.
Kind of flow with it, right? But that is not how it ended. And guess who ended up footing the bill?
Let me guess. You.
Of course. Of course. The buck stops.
So look, in this episode, we're breaking down how like both paths, right? Your contractor that you hire, DIY, or a done for you company that's going to be a one-stop shop, how both of those can go wrong and they can fail you. But more importantly, how do you pivot? How do you protect yourself? How do you vet these people to not only protect your deal, but also keep yourself from going crazy? Protect that sanity, man.
Absolutely. And we're talking about oversight. We're talking about third-party accountability. We're talking about vetting. We're talking about real systems that's going to keep you from getting finessed.
Yeah, man. So let's get into it, brother. As always, I'm Jordan, along with the numbers ninja, Drew, my brother, and we are the Property BRRRRothas. Man, it's been a minute, Drew, since we shared this property that we bought earlier in the year back in, I guess it was January, February.
Yeah, man.
So we're going to rewind.
It's our first deal together, right?
Right. It was our first deal together. So we're going to rewind just a little bit. And if you don't know, check out, I think it was like episode 1 and 2, where we did a screen share. So guess what? We're going to do another screen share because I want to remind our audience. I want to remind our audience on YouTube. If you're listening to us on podcasts and streaming us, we are doing a screen share. So we had big plans, man. So check this out. Listen. We still have big plans for this property. As you can see, Drew, what is this? This is a what?
That is definitely a looker, man.
It is a looker, man. And
absolutely.
We had super big plans for this. So just reminding y'all what this looked like on the inside. So we hired a guy, man. We hired this guy, Maurice, and he was our original GC, dude.
Yeah, and remember, when we first interviewed him, it was really cool because we felt like he embraced our vision, right? He had a good 100%. Idea of what it was that we wanted to accomplish. And with this particular property, it was going to be a midterm in the front, an Airbnb in the back. He really understood how to conceptualize and design to really attract the users or the end users that we were looking to rent to. So we were super excited about getting involved and we signed on the dotted line and said, this is our guy. And before that, we actually, I had hired him for the Dr. Andrew project as well as another ADU project. So felt very comfortable kind of getting in bed with this guy because, he was a familiar contractor per se.
Yeah. And he, like you said, man, he had already kind of taken under his wing these other 2 projects, which had kind of given you a headache up until that point. And he was kind of like, knight in shining armor, if you will, maybe a little bit, kind of came
100%.
in a little bit like, I got you, brother. I got you,
100%.
I'm going to take care of you.
As we start getting into this, obviously we were ecstatic at the movement in the beginning of this project.
Yes.
But there were some red flags, right?
Yeah. So, okay. So with that said, so let's take a look. Okay. So back to the screen share. Here's where it went good, right? So like we said, we had big plans and we signed on the dotted line. We're ready. And so this is how it started. You can see there's snow on the ground.
Yeah.
When we are recording this, it is now summer and it's been a minute. Okay. So they did the siding. Okay. They Tyvek'd it all. They started working on the little ADU in the back.
Yeah.
And it looked like we had some great progress and we gave boy about $90,000. And I did not stutter. 90K. Yeah. And this is kind of where it went left. So as you can see, that they did some things on the outside. Outside is looking real nice.
Looks
right?
Stellar. I mean, you've got the beautiful siding. You've got the gutters, the black gutters that really contrast. You actually have some siding on the back unit too, as you can see in that picture there.
Yeah.
And man, it looked like it, on the outside,
right here,
everything looked beautiful. It looked great.
And then they started working on the inside. And I believe this is kind of where things started to go a little wonky, a little wacky.
Remember when we were looking at just getting the initial permits for this project.
That's right.
Right. We could not get a straight answer. And that's one of the first red flags that we started to, that started to alert us like, hey, maybe we should look at this a little closer.
Yeah.
But we were so happy with all of the progress on the outside. We were like, this guy's done it before. Yeah. As he used to say, I'm cheating. Right?
Red flag. Hey,
right?
Pro tip. If your contractor says this, and I don't care if it's tongue in cheek, if he says, I cheat, you should probably listen to that and go with your gut. But like Drew said, man, we were making great progress. And he came out the gate swinging, Drew. Did he do the roof?
He did the roof.
But let me ask you, later, did he have to replace the roof?
No. Gosh, come on, man. I mean, as out-of-state investors, you hope that the person that you brought in to the fold is going to be honest with you and is going to be, attentive to detail. And we were later told by a neighbor that roof had been replaced just, less than 5 years ago.
And in the contracting world, 5 years on a roof, that ain't bad at all. You keep that roof. So, hey, shout out to old boy for replacing what didn't need to get fixed and sticking us with the bill.
Yeah, all good. But, there, as these red flags started to pile up, and obviously this is not a pity party, but this is something that we want to kind of go through and kind of look at, one, what were some of the red flags and how could we have controlled this a little bit better? And what do we do to get out of this, right? So on Father's Day, I decided to book a trip because there were a few things that just weren't lining up. One of the things was he stated that we had passed an inspection. And that didn't really fly well with me because I looked on the website where, Indianapolis has a great public website which shows, hey, when inspections have been scheduled, when they have passed, when they have failed. And there were 0 inspections that actually had been scheduled, passed, had failed. But yet we were told that
absolutely zero.
Not only had structural, electrical, and plumbing passed, according to Maurice, but he was moving on to the next phase and he was ready for more cash.
That's right.
So I flew out there because I questioned them and kind of got scolded for questioning the contractor. Like, how dare you? How dare you? It's like
got a lot of pushback from that, man.
Got a lot of pushback. But what is the age old saying, inspect, right?
Yeah.
Trust, but verify.
But verify. Absolutely.
So I booked a flight and I flew out there and it was a very eye-opening experience. Let's just say.
Yeah. Yes.
And one of the main things that was very apparent to me was that there had not been a movement on this, specifically Arsenal, for at least 2 months.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is the pictures that we had received 2 months ago, they were identical to what I saw when I walked in.
Yeah. And that's a huge red flag.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I noticed was that the structure of the entire build was a little lopsided.
The integrity of the home.
Floors.
Right?
What I mean is the floors. Like,
yeah.
It was like you could surf
in
there, right?
Yeah.
And so, we
kind of teeter-tottering.
Yeah, man. So long story short, I ended up calling a few folks. I called an inspector. I called another contractor to come in and just inspect, right?
Yeah.
And what we found was that the integrity of the structure was not there, right? So
let's peel that back just a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So red flag, back when we were hiring him, you would think that when he first started, he would have let us know this, right?
Right.
And again,
so, and specifically, like, let us know that, hey, in the basement, there is a beam that goes from one side of the house to the other side of the house, and it is not connected to the left side of the house. So we need to rebuild that beam or support that beam so that the floor will be level.
Right. Right. And none of that information was divulged to us.
No.
So as out-of-state investors, people, you have to have this information given to you, because as we found out, as Drew found out, firsthand, by going out there, that it was almost like a slap in the face, right, Drew?
Right.
100%. To walk into there and go, wow, this is a major, major safety issue that was clearly neglected,
100%.
And that absolutely can't happen when you are doing a rehab and a renovation. Your contractor has to be able to communicate that to you. And if they are not communicating that to you, and here's the pro tip is you got to get another set of eyes to either, like Drew said, have an inspector, right? So shout out to Sean Egan, our boy over at IndySpec, right? He talked about getting in that inspection prior, because that will save you on a legality standpoint. And then you can compare it to what the contractor is saying as well. And, have those pictures. And so Drew said, the pictures that we got look the exact same to what he walked into just a few weeks ago. And I just did a screen share, right? They don't look much different from these pictures on the screen share. And I am, sad to say that these pictures are from March, right? And we sitting in July. So all of that is to say, we got hoodwinked, we got bamboozled, but it's, what are we going to do about it? Okay. So what? So now what? Do we just cry? We just go into our hole? No. I mean, so obviously we fired him. Okay. Right.
Well, and that wasn't the catalyst, the full catalyst. I mean, yes, he screwed the pooch on that one. But on my other project that I've had and in fact, we have a beautiful video of the other project on Dr. Andrew in our podcast, where we show the progress, and it looks gorgeous again on the outside.
On the outside.
But then on the exact same situation, the basement structure, there's a beam being held by a broken chimney. It goes from one side of the house and almost makes it to the other side of the house. And what they did was nail a piece of wood and then try to extend it to the other side. And it's like, out-of-state investors, like you said, we don't have that visibility.
Right.
So we need to have somebody that is there that is inspecting. So typically that would be a city inspector, right? But if you haven't called inspections, you're going to go so far and get so deep where you're building on top of a bad foundation, literally a bad foundation, that it may be more difficult to dig yourself out of that hole once it finally does get found. So
Yeah.
what are some solutions? How can we mitigate this in the future?
Obviously, you have to 100% vet your guy. Okay. I mean, I guess that goes without saying. And we felt like we did, but I think we ignored some of the red flags, some of the telltale signs. So don't ignore the red flags. Some of the things that, come up that your gut is telling you, like,
Is
that's
that right?
weird.
Yeah,
That's bizarre.
that ain't
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah, that's not normal. Like, why don't I have steady pictures? Because that
Right.
should be coming in, right? So
Yeah.
you should absolutely work that into your contract, work that into your SOPs or whatever your agreement is, that you will have weekly updated photographs and videos for each phase of the project, or you do not release money, right?
The other thing that's
Yeah.
interesting is that for our particular products, that are the loans that we have taken out, right?
hmm
They require pictures. There's two ways to get a draw. One is going to be having the contractor take pictures,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
The other one is actually hiring somebody to go out and inspect.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, it probably makes sense to actually hire somebody to go out and inspect to make sure that it is done right. Now that if it's not done right, they may not give you the entire amount that you're requesting, but it's better to know than to not know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And if you, and it might cost you a little bit more money to hire somebody to go out there and take those pictures and inspect it, but it gives you that peace of mind, and you'll have that third party set of eyes so that you can get that stuff that's kind of hidden behind the framing, and you won't, have to fly out there on Father's Day to, kind of take a punch in the gut and be like, what did I just walk into? Right.
Right. Right. The other thing too is your property manager. Your property manager that is managing your properties, he or she should be able to go in there. A lot of them have an extra service that you can pay for.
Yeah.
So they'll go out there for $40 or $50 per visit, and they will take a look at what it is that you expect them to take a look at and document and take pictures. So now you don't have, for example, the contractor videoing everything on this side because
but nothing on that side. Yeah. Yeah. Strategically not showing you.
How many times did we see that? How many times did we see that?
Dude. And that's a red flag, right? That's a red flag. It's like, why do I keep seeing just this side of the house, but they're not showing me the basement, right? Like, what's in the basement? And, again, I think that going back to what we said, about 10 minutes ago, like, we were so excited about the progress up until that point because he was knocking it out. Like, okay, we're good. We were trusting, but we certainly were not verifying. And I believe that a lot of people are like us, and a lot of people are not sharing it like we are, right?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to share the wins. Everybody wants to share, oh, look how great this BRRRR is. This is beautiful, right? But they don't want to share the struggle. And sometimes the struggle is real. And $1,000 later, you're kind of licking your wounds and you're like, okay, where do we go from there? But like we said, not to belabor the subject, but obviously we fired him.
Yeah.
A lot of learning points there. And we went with another GC. So he's going to take care of us. He's going to get us across that finish line. But, the same things should still apply, right? Whether this is your first contractor or your second contractor like us, right? Like, we need to have those agreements in place. And while he's our boy, right, there is a professionalism that he's expecting from us and we're expecting from him as well. Absolutely. That, as investors, especially long distance, you cannot afford to hope your GC is doing things right. Right, George?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the other thing that I'd like to add is that, when you are going into an agreement or going into a contract with a GC, there are certain things that obviously we've spoken to an attorney, and the attorney said, listen, you should always make sure that your GC has milestones and a date, delivery dates that are clearly mapped out. That is legally required at least in the state of Indiana, right?
Yeah.
The other thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you have what's called a flow through. And what that means is that when the contractors hires a subcontractor and that subcontractor does not get paid, they cannot put a lien on your property. They can only go through the contractor to get paid. So what that does is that there's certain things, and you should it removes you. So you should always have that contract or at least some standard operating language in the contracts that will protect you. And I would recommend that if you are investing in a particular state, have a conversation with an attorney about what you're doing, what you're trying to accomplish, and how can you best protect yourself moving forward. Because that's one thing that's kind of open-ended for us is like, you know, we gave a lot of money, but did that money actually fall through into the right hands? Did it go to the subcontractors that did the work? Right.
That is a good point. And the short answer is we don't know. I don't know.
No clue.
No clue, man. I mean, we sent old boy the money and we just assumed that he did whatever he needed to do to get the materials, to pay the dudes that the labor, but we don't know if the actual people got paid. And so that's what Drew's kind of talking about, man. Like you absolutely need to protect yourself.
Yeah. The other piece to that too is that as you are, for example, in this particular house, Arsenal, he had to remove 2 chimneys, right?
Yeah.
And he did not let us know that there was going to be an additional cost to remove those chimneys. Right?
So it's a change order, right?
Right. So it's a change order. Now, he may have mentioned it in passing, like, hey, I had to remove 2 chimneys and I didn't account for that. Right.
Yeah.
Well, later on, we saw that there was a line item added for dumpster fees and additional chimney removal. Right.
Yeah.
So part of the agreement should be that as scope changes happen, you need to sign a scope change document in order for it to be, approved or charged, right? These are just standard operating procedures that if your contractor's not doing these things,
could be a red flag.
It could be a red flag. Bring it to their attention like, hey, this is what my expectations are as we move forward through this project. Keep it clean, keep it honest, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's a big time. That's a big time pro tip, man. Yeah. I love it, bro. I love it, dude. Because listen, again, hope ain't a strategy, right? You got to trust and verify. You got to have oversight. Okay. Right. Because if you don't, then you're just donating.
Absolutely.
Right? We just made a donation and hey, the Property Brothers, man, we do not donate to bad contractors. We don't 100%. Do it. We don't do it.
The last pro tip that I'd like to add is, unfortunately in the build, we have electrical and plumbing rough that's been done. However, when we've got it inspected by other electricians and other plumbers who are licensed, right? They basically stated that I would have never done it this way.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were thinking. Like, think about the HVAC, right?
Yeah.
The HVAC in this house is all the way up on the 3rd floor.
Yeah. It's very bizarre how they went about wiring it, how they went about plumbing it, HVACing it.
You want to make sure that in your contract, you have something stating that you are using licensed subcontractors, right? Who ensure their work. Right? If you're getting Joe Blow off the street and they make a mistake, who are you going to hold accountable for that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
1000%, man. That's facts, man. That is facts. So that is what happens when you do the DIY, when it goes bad, when you hire bad contractors. So, listen to the Property Brothers, man. Take it from us. But what happens, Drew, when you're like, all right, what if I just get a company? What if I just get this one-stop shop?
Yeah.
And I have them do it all. All I got to do is put up the money. They are going to bring me the deal. They are going to manage it. They're going to contract it. They're going to break it from rooter to the tutor. What happens when that goes wrong? So, Drew, talk to us about this done for you, kind of trap, if you will.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's necessarily a trap. What I can say is that, you know, I got introduced to the concept. I had gone through a couple of rehabs already. And I was like, you know what? Managing these rehabs from afar is not always fun. Let's just put it that way, right?
Right.
And so I was thinking, all right, well, wouldn't it be cool if someone actually could project manage it for me? And I got introduced through a friend, and they basically said, hey, listen, I have a company by the name of Vreeland. The gentleman's name is Jimmy Vreeland. And they go out and they will find these properties. They're based out of St. Louis, and they purchase properties out in Illinois and St. Louis, et cetera. And, you know, spend $10K to get in the program, $10,000 to get in the program, right?
That's a big time. That's a big time entry fee.
But let me tell you, like $10,000 for peace of mind, right? If you could hire somebody that would go out and find the property, vet the property, figure out the entire scope of work, bring a contractor in to manage that. And then all you have to do is front the money, right? And then, you know, make some choices. I want pink paint instead of blue paint, right? That's the way that it was pitched to me. So I decided to go forward. I was like, dude, I am an investor who does rehabs. I feel good. I can, this is easy, right?
Easy, easy
money, right?
Yeah.
So my first deal I got, was out in Illinois. It was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. And what was beautiful is like, they just literally handed it to you on this plate and said, hey, listen, here's how much you're going to get it for. You're going to get it for $50,000, right? It's going to be $70,000 for the rehab. So you're $120,000.
So you're 120 in plus your 10. Don't forget your 10 to play.
10. Right.
Yeah, play.
And it's going to, it should appraise for $180,000. Right. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm going to make $40,000 off this deal. That sounds beautiful. That sounds like
your 10,000 just turned into 40,000. Yeah.
Right. So I actually, you know, just because I am who I am, I'm the numbers ninja. I ran
the numbers.
I ran the numbers, and based off of the scope of work that they had broken down, it wasn't there, but I felt like it was about maybe $10 off, because I looked at the appraisal values of the other homes, or the other sold homes. And I was like, dude, I'm not seeing anything in that neighborhood selling for 180.
So let me just pause you there.
Yeah.
So the comps were not.
That's the word I was looking for. The comps
were, they were not supporting what this company was telling you were supposed to be getting, which again is your ARV, right? Your after repair value. So just reminding the people
a red flag.
What that is. Yeah. That's a red flag.
A red flag. But I was like, you know what? These guys know what they're doing. There's hundreds of people that have been doing this that trust them.
Yeah.
And my buddy just did a deal with them. I trust him, right?
Yeah.
Now, you guys might be like, dang, Drew's looking a little scruffy, right? I am.
These rehabs got him looking rough.
Dude, it's not the rehabs, all right? The things that you do for love, right? My wife's like, I would like to see what you look like with a beard. And I'm like, you know what? Okay, I'll do that for you. I love you. Sound like to me she want to date another man, but it's all good. So what I'm saying is, he's like, just grow it out. Just suffer through it. I'm like, but my face hurts. She's all, it don't matter. You can do it. Yes. So
that's funny.
So what we said earlier, trust but verify, right?
Yeah.
I verified, but I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust my numbers, right?
Yeah.
So I decided to keep going forward. And then once we started getting into the deal, everything was pretty, I was like, remember how excited I was because they had like this builder trend. They had all of these documents and these SOPs. Cause you know, I get excited about SOPs. Like, you know, it's like these guys had structure. Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I was just going to say they were kind of like the exact opposite of Maurice, right? They had the structure, like you said, they had all the documentation.
Right.
Okay. And you feel safe, I guess, so to speak.
Extremely safe.
You feel extremely safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I
had a conversation with a lady, that I believe her name was Cindy or Cynthia or something like that. Had a conversation with her and just said, "Hey, listen, my concern is that the numbers are not necessarily matching up to what you guys are saying." And she said, "Listen, we're partners in this. If there's any kind of issues, we will make up the difference, right?" And so I was like, you know what? That made me feel even more warm and fuzzy. Like I had a partner in this whole deal, right?
Yeah.
So
like we got skin in the game too.
Right. We got skin in the game too, right? So I moved forward and I started getting scope of work changes, right? And I was like, dude, okay, I know we have a contingency, right? But we're starting to blow past this bad boy. Anyways, long story short, at the end of the day, we were probably about $30,000 in scope of work changes. I ended up having to hire my own contractor for two things that were supposed to be taken care of in this contract. One was the driveway. It turns out that whoever did the original scope of work didn't realize that the gravel in the front driveway was not cement. They had it as repairing cracks in the driveway, right? And it was a gravel driveway. So, I mean, are you kidding me? That's like the very first thing you see when you pull
is
up
the driveway.
house.
Like, what are you're driving on a literal driveway.
100%. So then the other thing, and this is something that I had actually brought to their attention in the very beginning, was the basement had a lot of water in the basement.
Yeah.
And I had
can't have water in the basement.
I had dealt with this and I was like, guys, we need to make sure that there's budget to account for this. So they actually adjusted the purchase price and the scope of work before I purchased to address the basement. At the end of the project, starts raining and snowing, basement is just filling with water. After we had already staged this property.
Yeah.
The house was staged and I mean, it was crazy.
Can I do a screen share and show the people what it looked like?
Absolutely.
Prior? Because it is a looker.
It's a looker.
And you know, Drew that was right up his alley. He's like, man, this is a looker.
There's value in lookers.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we preach, man. But yeah.
Yeah, man. Oh my God. It looked bad. But this is also why this house was $50,000.
That's right.
You know?
And that's why you
and here's the other piece that was interesting for me is that I paid $50,000, but Vreeland was the wholesaler in this. So they got $40,000 up front. They actually bought this house for $10,000.
Wow.
And I was like,
wow,
man,
that's
great.
The thing.
So they got $10,000 from me to join the program as well as everybody else. Right. And then $40,000. They made $40,000 on this house. And this house is a looker. But
here's this basement.
Yeah. But I felt extremely comfortable moving forward with this because I wasn't managing the project.
Right.
They had vetted their contractors. They had vetted project managers.
Yeah. It was all in-house, right?
It was all in-house. Absolutely. So I felt extremely comfortable.
So can I say this? Like, you were able to relinquish the control, right?
Yeah.
In a sense. And that made you feel comfortable because you didn't have to, literally manage it. You have all of the company from the rooter to the tutor, like I said, from start to finish, that is supposed to bring you across the finish line. And you don't have the control, but it sounds like that losing the control can cost you a lot, right?
So here's what's interesting is that in this process, you never lost control. You always had control, but what I found is that communication lacked. So despite the fancy tools, the builder trends and all that kind of stuff, for example, when I bought this house, it had 1.5 bathrooms. When it was finished, it had 1 bathroom, right? I never made the decision to remove the half bathroom. No one ever came and talked to me about the fact that they were going to remove the half bathroom, right? There were other decisions that were made that I was.
You would have liked to have been, that would have been a discussion you would have liked to have, right?
Right. And you can see that, man, it's looking really nice.
It's looking better, right?
It's looking much better. But, so at the end of the day, I did end up having a conversation with Jimmy Vreeland and the team about certain change orders that were going on. And basically they kind of told me to pound sand, you know. It's like, the conversation that I had, earlier before getting started with Christy about us being partners, kind of went out the door,
Yeah.
and so I ended up losing, at the end of that project, about $30,000. So I basically contributed $30,000 to, the
Donated.
Vreeland Fund. And, here's what I can say. Again, this is not a pity party. I learned a lot from this experience. But even done for you, you need to run your numbers.
There you go.
And you need to make sure
Trust
that
your
those
numbers
make sense, right? If they don't make sense, then you're probably getting sold a bill of goods, right?
Yeah.
Secondly, you need to make sure that so in this case, I did not get a copy of the insurance from the company
Oh,
because,
yeah.
right, they were running it. So I felt like they should have had it. Turns out the contractor wasn't even licensed in that area. In Illinois, they don't require them to have a GC license from what I could research. They're not required to have a bond. So, just need to make sure that you're doing your due diligence.
No matter what state you're in.
Yeah. No matter what
Based
state
on
you're
the
in, no
state
matter
you're
who's
in.
managing it, you need to make sure that everything that you would do if you were managing it, you're holding those people accountable to also
100%.
do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
The other thing is that you need to have regular communication and make sure that things aren't being changed that you wouldn't have changed, right?
Yeah.
So you need to make sure that that is set up front so that, in your contract, so that you can hold them accountable if they go out and remove a bathroom, right?
Yeah.
Or don't fulfill the waterproofing of the basement as per your contract.
Yeah.
Last thing that I will say is review the contract, review the expectations, truly understand what the delivery is going to be, because that was one thing that they were holding against me, is that even though I had brought to their attention the waterproofing of the basement, they said that it wasn't in writing in the contract.
Yeah.
So
and there's a loophole.
So therefore they couldn't hold you accountable.
Or you couldn't hold them accountable.
Right. My final thing about this is make sure you get an inspector to go out there and walk the property. Despite the fact that you have somebody who's on your side, who is representing you, supposedly, and has your best interest in mind, you still need to have a third party go out there and just walk that property so you know what you are getting yourself into, right? Now,
Facts, 1,000%.
I didn't run a sewer scope, but it didn't come back to bite me.
Yeah.
Right. So, done for you, I think could be a great tool with the right partners. I would say before you get in bed with that, make sure that you're looking at reviews. Make sure that and this goes for like GCs and anybody that you work with, look at their reviews, ask for references, right? Ask to see their prior work. Make sure you're doing your due diligence on that side of the table.
Yeah. So if somebody's sitting out there right now, right, watching this, and they're like, well, damn, Drew, that's on you, man. That's not my story. I've had a great experience with Done For You, right? And you just said, like, your buddy recommended it. So I guess my question is, like, why do you think that your deal necessarily didn't go according to plan and it was really kind of frustrating? Why do you think that, that happened to you?
So hindsight is always 20/20. But again, I would say run your numbers and trust your numbers. I would say make sure that the scope of work is the real scope of work, right? So for in my particular situation, it looks like the person who did scopes of works for Vreeland was using a templated scope of work, clearly by the driveway, fixing the cracks in the gravel driveway, right? So I think that would be something that you can mitigate by hiring a third-party inspector.
Yeah.
Right? Get an inspector out there to actually walk the property and identify, does everything in a scope of work actually match with what needs to be done, right?
Yeah.
Maybe even if you're out of state, maybe for your first deal, maybe you want to fly in there, or maybe you want to hire a third party to go in there and video everything.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Because you need that oversight, man.
you need to have that oversight.
Whether it's DIY or you outsource it, right? Whether you're hiring a contractor, whether you're getting it done for you,
Yeah.
you gotta have oversight so you don't get blindsided. Because
Yeah.
listen, at the end of the day, man, people, listen, don't nobody care about your money like you care about your money, you know?
100%.
Because everybody's got their hand out like we want to get paid,
Yep.
right? But at the end of the day, life is groovy, and you're still left holding the bag. And, for us, we were kind of left holding the bag. So with that said, this is a good, way to kind of segue. So what is the fix, man? We talked about third party boots on the ground. So what are we going to do? Let's start with the done for you, the Vreeland. What ended up happening with this property when it was all said and done? Did you sell it? Did you keep it? Is there a renter in it? What was your exit strategy so that you can kind of, sleep a little bit better at night?
Yeah, absolutely. So I did have a fix and flip loan that needed to be paid off, and I could have refinanced it and rented it. However, I don't have a team out in Illinois. And I wasn't interested in that. That wasn't what I went in there to do. So I decided to continue with the fix and flip process, and I ended up selling it. And like I
Nice.
said, I ended up taking about a $30,000 loss.
Congrats.
It didn't appraise for the
Not losing money.
it didn't appraise for the 170. I think it appraised for like 150, 155. So there's $20,000 right off the bat, plus the money that I had to put in there for the increased scope of work. And then when you think about also the money that I invested to get in the program. So it was a loss all the way around, but it was a really good lesson. It was a very good lesson, and it has some reoccurring themes that that are applicable not only for DFY or done for you, but also for the rehabs that we're doing as well.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And then, so then on the other side of it, right, with our mutual project, right, so we fired old boy. And so what we're doing now is kind of spotted some of those issues that have come with a $90,000 mistake, right? Not that it was a mistake. It just was, when you
Oversight.
when you give that sum of money, the mistake was we didn't have the oversight. And, you and I had a conversation, off camera yesterday about, what we would like to see, because here's what I can tell you is that we caught this soon enough still in the project where we can still get this across the finish line with the right person, with the right team to go ahead and, make it what we still had our initial goal, which was to make it a midterm rental for the main house and for the garage ADU conversion to be an Airbnb, man.
Yeah.
And I think that it might be just in time for football and basketball season too.
Man, like I said, I'm still super excited about this project. I mean, this project is a winner chicken dinner, no matter how you slice it, right? A couple of things that we did though, as we transitioned, is we wanted to preserve the site, right? And so the first thing that we did is we had Sean go and do our inspection, and he identified quite a few.
Egan.
Yeah. Indy Spec, and he did a great job identifying some of the issues, so much so that we had to hire a structural engineer to go in and do a secondary inspection to really get in there and identify some main problem points that, even Sean didn't identify. So I feel extremely confident and comfortable knowing that we have identified what those problem areas are and what needs to be fixed. And I'm excited to move forward. I mean, we were talking about, in the midterm, putting a sauna in that bad boy and creating a really luxurious kind of experience for anybody who's interested in coming out and watching some football or staying for, maybe a nurse's round. What do they call it? Nurse,
like a traveling medical professional.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, we did have to take a few extra steps to really feel secure and confident that this thing can get rescued and get across the finish line in a timely manner. And I'm excited, man. So yes, we got stung. I think that we were able to pull our hand out of the hive with, very few stings, because we can mitigate this before it actually had, drywall and all the electrical and all the HVAC, behind the wall. Right.
Yeah.
So,
but $90,000 stings.
It does. But, again, luckily
it's a tough pill to swallow, but
luckily the numbers still work.
Yes.
Luckily the numbers still work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, we may have to take a little bit of a bath, but we're not drowning.
Yeah. Yep. That's
the
point,
thing,
man.
people. That's the thing that the people need to realize, is that, hopefully they can utilize our experiences so that they don't have to experience a bath or a drowning. Right.
Right.
They can say, all right, I'm going in with these tools, right? These tools that, the Property Brothers have put together, because they've given their pound of flesh. Thank you very much. They've given their pound of flesh so that I don't have to.
There you go. There you go, man. And I think you just kind of hit the nail on the head, because, even when you have the right, person, team, GC, like, they can't fix everything without the right tools, right? And so that's what Drew's saying, man. That's why we put together a playbook, right? A blueprint, a system, to back up and to verify and to protect us on every single job, man. So I mean, it's got it all, dude. I mean, this system, we've got a scope of work template, right? We got contractor interview questions, man. We got your BRRRR analyzer, a refinance bridge, like,
your payment schedule plan, right?
Yep. Progress trackers, all of it.
Yeah, man. That's awesome. Yeah. I think
I just wish we had that when we kind of get started, huh? Right.
You literally need to get out of my head.
That's why we're the Property Brothers.
Get out of I was about to say that, man, taking advantage of my stuttering problem.
It's all good, man. So look, dude, so like, where are we at right now, Drew? What do we want to kind of wrap this up with?
Well, I think right now, the main thing is that, we didn't build the Property Brothers brand of flex, right? We built it so that regular people like us can do this without getting burnt, right? And listen, it's okay to fall on your face as long as you don't crack your head open and you can get back up, right?
Yeah.
It's okay. But what we're trying to do is help secure some of those falls and make sure, because that's the way you learn. You do
learn from mistakes.
A buddy of mine said, if you're not failing, you're not doing anything. Right. And so, fail and learn from those mistakes. Don't continue to create those same mistakes over and over and over.
Fall forward.
Yeah.
That's it, man. So look, if you're trying to avoid those traps, man, and you're like us, right? Again, we are regular brothers. W2 employee, Drew, right? Entrepreneur. So we are right where you are at, in your life, right? We're dads, we're husbands, right? And you want to get to a part where your money is working for you, right? You want that financial freedom. We will show you what we wish we had on day one, right? So like we said, we got this system put in place,
Yeah, I mean, then that step, man, is they need to book a clarity call with us.
That's it, dude. Book a call with us, man.
Grab that blueprint, right? We have put all this work into this to build this for you so that you can get your next deal across the finish line.
Yeah. 100%, man.
And we're excited to help you get.
We are excited. Learn from our experiences, and it's built from, with blood, sweat, and tears, baby. So
100%.
With that said, man, we appreciate y'all for rocking with us, man. Talking about our real deal and the real life losses that we're going through, but also, how we are falling forward and we are, bouncing back and bringing it back, us, man. So
listen, check this out. Baby. This is Property Brothers.
Man, so I'm your host, Jordan and Drew, man. We are climbing the ladder. We're trying to share all these things with you. So share, like, subscribe, man. Find us on IG, find us on TikTok, man. And we just appreciate y'all, man. Much love. We
Peace
out.
out.
Property Brothers.